personal vendetta as well. Unlike many other victims of the Nazis, the German Jewish refugees who became American soldiers had a means to help destroy the regime that had persecuted them and their families. But there was a snag. When Germany declared war on the United States in December 1941, German citizens residing in America were automatically declared enemy aliens. Even after Congress passed legislation allowing enemy aliens to be inducted into the Army, some found themselves assigned to U.S. bases where they were mistrusted and their accents ridiculed by other GIs. War planners in the Pentagon soon realized that the German Jews already in uniform knew the language, culture, and psychology of the enemy best, and had the greatest motivation to defeat Hitler. By mid-1942, the Army began molding them into a top-secret, decisive force to help win the war in Europe. Over the next 3 years, 31 8-week sessions were held at Camp Ritchie in Maryland, consisting of extensive classroom work and field training. The largest group of graduates was 1,985 German-born Jews, trained to interrogate German POWs. They were fast-tracked for U.S. citizenship and sent overseas with all the frontline units fighting the Germans. The Ritchie Boys, as they came to be known, had no idea what they would find when they returned to Europe. Many still did not know what had happened to their families that had sent them away to safety in America. Sons and Soldiers follows a group of Ritchie Boys from their boyhoods in Germany to their escapes to America, to their return to Europe as U.S. soldiers to fight in a war that for them was intensely personal. They parachuted with the airborne forces on D-Day, landed at Omaha Beach, raced with Patton's tanks across occupied France, and fought in the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last desperate gamble to win the war. Then they crossed into Germany with the Allied armies and were with the forces that entered the Nazi concentration camps, where they saw with their own eyes the horrors of the Holocaust. When the shooting finally ended, it was time for these sons to look for the families they had left behind. To this day, the exploits and strategic importance of the Ritchie Boys are little known. They took part in every major battle and campaign of the war in Europe, collecting valuable tactical intelligence about enemy strength, troop movements, and defensive positions, as well as enemy morale. In the course of the war, tens of thousands of newly captured Third Reich soldiers were interrogated by teams of these German Jewish soldiers. A classified post-war report by the Army found that nearly 60% of the credible intelligence gathered in Europe came from the Ritchie Boys. Yet there has been no publication of their operations or a complete roster of these men made public. As members of military intelligence, they were warned not to reveal their branch of the service or their training or duties during the war, and similar restrictions applied post-war to any documents, reports, or notes they may have retained. They held no reunions and were disinclined to join veterans organizations, as their German accents made them unwelcome in the usual circles of U.S. veterans. Their story is one of the last great untold sagas of World War II. I am honored to tell the true story of these little-known heroes. Bruce Henderson, Menlo Park, California. Prologue. Germany, 1938. Loud banging at the front door jolted Martin Selling out of a sound sleep. It was shortly before sunrise, November 10th, 1938. Martin lived in Lehrberg, in southeast Germany. He and his relatives were the only Jews living among the 1,000 other residents of this tranquil agricultural village. Over the course of the previous day, the Nazis had carried out a series of brutal, coordinated attacks against Jews across Germany. But Martin wasn't aware of that yet. This widespread campaign of malevolence would forever become known as Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass. So called because of the mounds of glass shards from broken windows that littered the streets after thousands of synagogues and Jewish-owned homes, businesses,